contest sign-up season is here, and you don't want to miss out on the action. With millions of dollars on the line each and every week in the world's biggest football contest, there's only one proxy to trust, footballcontest.com. Maddie and Tony have set the gold standard for football contest proxy services with 20 years of experience and over 13 million in winnings for their clients. All you have to do is get to Vegas between now and the start of football season to sign up in person, and they do the rest, making sure your picks are entered every week. Whether you want to play in the Circa Sports Million, Circa Survivor, Super Contest Gold, or the new Super Contest College Contest, Maddie and Tony have you covered. Their new website has everything you need to know about these football contests and more, including how you can reserve the best proxy in the business. Experience matters, so go with the pros at footballcontest.com, the gold standard proxy service.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching? This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
It's Sports by the Book at the South Point Studio. Here's Jeff Parles and Alex White.
Live from the South Point here in lovely Las Vegas. It is Sports by the Book here at the South Point Studio. I'm Jeff Parles. She is Alex White. Good morning, Alex.
Good morning. It is football day for us here
Sure is.
at the South Point.
It's home run. No more home run derbies. NL can we say walks it off in the
Swings it up.
Yeah, I guess swings it off would be the terms last night. Just a hellacious beat if you had Pete Alonso MVP tickets last night as Schwarber steals it with his 3 for 3. And then Aaron Boone also put a guy who had 11 homers on the year in there as the closer. Smart decision. All right, that's enough baseball for today. Well, plenty of baseball tomorrow's show. Our second half look ahead on the show tomorrow. But today, we give you the overview of what's going on in the National Football League. Also, all numbers available here at the South Point across the board on the NFL, college win totals as well.
Yes.
Within conferences have popped up as well here at the South Point. So be on the lookout for that. But Alex, let's just start at the top of this and make it very simple. Odds to win it all in Super Bowl 60 in Santa Clara next February. And the defending champions are in as the co-favorites with the Buffalo Bills, the Eagles at 5-1, the Bills at 5-1 as well. Kansas City down as the 4th favorite, despite going for their 3rd in a row a year ago. Of course, got clocked in that Super Bowl by Philly. They're plus 750. Baltimore is 7-1. Everybody else is 12-1 or longer on this board, Alex.
Of course, the Buffalo Bills looked very good last year. Just fell short against the Chiefs to actually making it to the Super Bowl. So can understand that number, but also they are gifted. They do get to play the NFC South this year, so pretty easy schedule, and that has a lot to do with why they are co-favorites here with the defending champions in Philadelphia.
The Eagles 5-1, Buffalo 5-1, but we begin in the NFC East here today with the defending champion Philadelphia Eagles, who are not surprisingly the betting favorites to win the division. Again, it's hard to repeat in this division, as we know. We haven't had back-to-back NFC East championships in 20-plus years now, but minus 160 on Philadelphia to repeat as division champions. The upstart Washington Commanders, of course, a year ago, shockingly in the NFC title game, plus 220 to win the division. Very low expectations in Dallas for the first time in a long time at plus 650, and the Giants wrapping it up no expectations in New York at 30-1 to win the NFC East here at the South Point, Alex.
I can't wait to do our individual team breakdowns there because might be a little sneaky team in there. And right there, no expectations, but it looks like a loaded defense for the G-Men. But you can see right there, we're moving to the conference. They are a hefty 70-1, the Giants are.
Plus 275 on Philly. You're betting favorite to come out of the NFC again. Washington is 7-1, add a 0 for the Giants. And then Dallas. Again, Dallas with the least expectations going into a year for the Cowboys in a very long time. Of course, the hire Brian Schottenheimer confused a lot. They have no backfield that looks competent, but they'll be all on the arm of Dak Prescott yet again in Big D. And then, of course, we already mentioned it, Philly 5-1 to win it all. Washington at 16-1. Dallas 30-1, and in New York at 150-1 to raise the Lombardi, which would be quite the shocker if Big Blue did that this year.
If you can't find anything you like their division, conference, or to win it all, of course, win total's a very popular bet across the board. So looking at this division, Philadelphia 11.5, that is juiced to the under. So you're getting a plus price if you like the over with them. Commanders a 9, so some high expectations after such a good year. They're in Washington, juiced to the over for that 9. Dallas is an 8, juiced to the under, as you mentioned. Lowest expectations we've seen in a while for the Cowboys. And then the Giants, 5.5. We've started our breakdowns. There are a group of 5 of teams that have been set right there at that 5.5. The Giants, one of them, juiced to the under, minus 145 here at the South Point.
You know, just throwing this out there, just eyeballing the win totals. Your Dallas win totals are all over the place. They're 7.5s out there, 8.5s. Now, of course, an 8 here at the South Point. Same deal with Washington. There's 9.5s out there. Shop is always on these win totals, but a flat 9, pretty good on Washington if you like the over. Dallas, depending on which way you want to go, not terrible. Again, Giants 5.5 pretty much across the board. Philadelphia 11.5. There are some significantly juiced 12.5s to the under out there as well, but be very careful on that front. Just again, looking at this division as a whole, Alex, again, really just starts and ends with Philadelphia. The roster doesn't look quite as good as it did a year ago. Some losses on defense, more so than anything that you have to look at on the Eagles' end. It still runs through the city of brotherly love, even with, again, Washington hoping to take another step forward. Didn't love their offseason. Dallas, again, perplexing offseason, and the Giants at the bottom.
I mean, the Eagles have just been building this roster, right, with Nick Sirianni. And last year was just the ultimate, adding Saquon Barkley. So completely agree with that, with this division going through them. If you're looking for the best price division-wise for them, I am seeing a minus 130 for the Eagles to win the division from DraftKings. So not going to get much better than that. I mean, what our number is here, minus 160, looks like that is the majority of places.
And it seems to be the normal number. And then for Washington, again, just an offseason where I would have hoped they would have improved that defense just a little bit more. Of course, we know they didn't punt. It felt like they never punted last year at times. Jaden Daniels, of course, you worry about the potential sophomore slump, but no reason to think he will take a step back, any sort of step backwards and vault himself easily into the top 10. I like 2 playoff teams in this division, but we will have individual team previews going all summer long across every single of the 32 teams here in the National Football League. Now we go to the NFC North, and this division, at least to me on the surface, feels loaded. The defending number 1 seed and defending division champions of back-to-back years, the Detroit Lions, come in as the betting favorite to win the NFC North for a 3rd consecutive year. Would be unprecedented for that franchise. Plus 120 for Dan Campbell and the boys. Plus 220 on Green Bay, who, of course, made the playoffs a year ago, but fell short in Philadelphia in round 1. A lot of change in Minnesota. New quarterback. It's J.J. McCarthy's time up in the Great White North. Plus 375 on Minnesota. And then the Bears. New head coach. A roster that seems loaded on the surface. Sitting there is the long shot at 5-1, Alex.
Really, everybody hoping that Ben Johnson can turn it around for Caleb Williams there and really get him going. Number 1 pick overall last year. So we'll see what happens there. But very interesting with Minnesota. You're right. Do not decide to hang on to Sam Darnold and go with J.J. McCarthy.
McCarthy, of course, the first round pick in the 2024 draft. Minnesota moved up a slot to get him at number 10. You know, and this will be the case when we go through all these teams. And the Chicago Bears if you're just going off of pure rosters around the quarterback, their roster is as good as anyone in the NFC. They had a brilliant offseason where they fortified the offensive line. They fortified the defense. It's all going to come down to the head coach and the quarterback. Is Ben Johnson as good as we think he is going in? Does that mean Caleb Williams is going to be as good as we thought he could be coming out of USC? Fascinating stuff with the Bears. You look at the conference numbers as well. Lions second favorite just behind Philadelphia at 5-1. Green Bay 7-1. Minnesota 9-1, and then Chicago at 12-1. So a little shorter numbers on everyone here in this division. This is, by the way, Chicago is the shortest number of a last place team in the NFC by margin to win the conference by margin. Again, they have the highest win total of an 8.5 as well. Bears are 30-1 to win it all, 20-1 on Minnesota. I think that's way too short, personally. 15-1 on Green Bay and 12-1 on Detroit, which is a much better price than you got at any point a year ago. But, of course, questions with the Lions with their new look coordinators, because both Johnson and Glenn, of course, got head coaching jobs.
That's right. Should be interesting to see what Detroit can do, but I do believe in Dan Campbell and him turning it around, just like we saw with Philly last year, winning the Super Bowl with two new coordinators. If you're looking for the best number for the Lions to win the division, I am seeing the plus 155 from FanDuel. So that's a pretty good price there if you think the Lions aren't going to fall off after losing both coordinators. Any other best prices here? You can get a little bit better with the Bears. Plus 550, maybe. Probably the best. So shop around, as always.
What are we looking at win total wise here in this division, Alex?
Win totals. So starting with Detroit here, that is a 10.5, and that is juice to the under.
Juice to the under.
Kind of surprised there. Minus 140 here at the South Point. 9.5 for Green Bay. Juice to the over. Minus 120. We've got a flat 9 for the Vikings. So people are expecting them to be able to hold their own, even changing at the quarterback position. And then an 8.5 has to be the closest in any division, right? With win totals. I mean, that is tight. 10.5 to 8.5 between the four.
You know, I'll just throw this out there because I think when we get to Detroit in our previews, you and I are going to have different views here. I'm very interested to just see, again, how good of a head coach is Dan Campbell. We think he's high end. He's changed the culture in Detroit. But is he the guy to get them to the Super Bowl? Is he the guy to take them the next step? All right, they won the division 2 years in a row. They got the number 1 seed. And now you're trying to do it with two new coordinators. And look, I know Aaron Glenn was respected, but no one as an offensive coordinator was more respected than Ben Johnson over the last few years. How do you replace him? There's a lot on Johnny Morton, the new offensive coordinator for Detroit. Of course, we'll preview all these teams as we go through the NFL over the next month plus. All right, now we go to arguably the weakest division in the NFL next. We go from arguably the strongest to arguably the weakest here, Alex. The NFC South. It's been Tampa Bay's world over the last half decade. Ever since Tom Brady got there. Tampa has won the division every single year, but the one year they won the Super Bowl, naturally, because of course.
Right.
But Baker Mayfield and company, the betting favorites yet again to win the NFC South. They're minus 110. Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta at plus 230 to win the NFC South. Again, Atlanta, just you and I have been infuriated by them really forever, but especially over the last few years. Carolina, after Bryce Young's big leap forward in the second half of last season, at 4-1, and then New Orleans at 15-1 with a whole boatload of questions at quarterback, Alex.
It's been a while since we've seen New Orleans down there at the very bottom projected in this division. You're right, Atlanta completely loaded. Haven't really been able to put it together. Tampa Bay, favorite, for a good reason here, have been very consistent. If you're looking for their best number division-wise, I'm seeing at FanDuel plus 110. I think that's the best you're going to get, even getting a plus price here with the Bucks.
Next up on this conference price is Tampa's 15-1, 25-1 in Atlanta. See, Tampa is longer than Chicago to win the NFC. Chicago's got the worst win total in the NFC North. Bucks the favorite to win the division here. 25-1 in Atlanta, 50-1 in Carolina, 100-1 on New Orleans. Add a 0 to that, and that would probably be the right price on the Saints with their questions at quarterback. And then to win it all, Saints of Carolina are way down the board, 300-1 on New Orleans, 200-1 on Carolina. Atlanta, 75-1, and then Tampa, a 40-1 shot to raise the Lombardi for the second time in 6 years.
I think I've already mentioned it a little bit, but I just think that is a crazy number with Tampa Bay. I mean, you talking about them even to win the conference, having a better number than the Bears, and now 40-1 to win it all. Where, I mean, I do think they are the top of the NFC, but time will tell here. Let's go to the win totals here for these four teams. Looking at Tampa Bay at a 9.5. Pretty much standard around. You can always find other better numbers if you want a plus price with 10.5 out there, or even 8.5 if you want to lay even some juice there. Looking at Atlanta, a flat 8 here at the South Point. Looking at Carolina, we've got a 6.5. I'm sorry, my eyes aren't that great. I didn't know if that was a 5.5 or a 6.5. I know New Orleans is a 5.5, one of the 5 teams here at 5.5, and it is minus 150 to the under.
Just the storyline in this division all comes back to the quarterback play for me. Baker Mayfield, who has really revitalized his career in Tampa Bay. Again, Browns let him go for nothing. Carolina cut him midstream. Had that month plus with McVay with the Rams where Mayfield showed he can still play. Goes to Tampa. Been a top half quarterback every single year in Tampa these first 2 years. Gotten a big contract now. Yep. Does Michael Penix Jr. take a leap forward in his first full year as a starter? Cousins, by the way, is still there in Atlanta, as comical as that is. And it was what we saw at the end of last year real for Bryce Young, who arguably through the first 20 starts of his career looked as bad as any top-flight quarterback drafted we have ever seen, even in the Jamarcus Russell category, in that sort of category of bad, but really revitalized himself the last half of the year, coming back after Dalton took over for about 6 weeks. And Bryce Young played really well. Yeah. And Carolina won a few games. It was not their offense's fault when they lost, except for one game. Young played really well down the stretch. Was that real? And you know what? If that's real, I think Carolina is live in this division, even though I think Tampa, again, Mayfield's a real quarterback at this point. They still have the best receiving core. And Atlanta, can we trust the Falcons ever? No. You and I both know the answer to that.
And then, of course, New Orleans going with a rookie here in Taylor Shuck after Derek Carr retires. So I think that's a great point. I think this division really does say a lot about the quarterbacks there. And then, of course, with this division, are they going to play up to their competition? Because this division is pretty crazy. They've had some crazy upsets in the last few years, and then they find ways to lose against teams that they are supposed to beat. So that is where I'm at with Tampa Bay and holding this division. Can they stay consistent week in and week out with Todd Bowles and Baker Mayfield there under center? So,
on the New Orleans front, real quick, yes. Shuck is still unsigned. These 30 of 32 second-round picks are still unsigned. Shuck is one of them, and there could be a bunch of haggling over the next few weeks from Shuck and the Saints. But look, if you're New Orleans, you can't mess around. Get him in. He's probably going to be your week 1 starter, or else you're stuck with Spencer Rattler again, who showed a few glimpses here and there, but it's clearly not an NFL starter. All right, going west. We wrap up the NFC, just overlook. Again, this is more of an overlook here today. All of our individual team previews are going to be on the YouTube page starting next week. So be on the lookout for all 32 teams. We begin next week, by the way, with the Tennessee Titans. So be on the lookout on our YouTube page. And this goes back to the Niners. Very interesting to see. Now, it's funny. You'll get to the win totals in a moment. The Niners have a higher win total than the Rams, but are not the betting favorite to win the division. The Rams are plus 140. The Niners are plus 175. Arizona, who seems to be a very sexy pick this year coming into the year, at plus 450. And then Sam Darnold, the new quarterback in Seattle. Of course, Geno traded to Vegas, plus 550 on the Seahawks in a completely new era up in the Pacific Northwest, Alex.
This division's very interesting when it comes to wide receivers, right? Of course, we know there's been a lot of moves in this division. Really, I mean, no more Deebo Samuel with San Francisco. Cooper Kupp no longer with LA. They bring in Devontae Adams in Seattle. No more DK Metcalf or Lockett there. So should be very interesting here. And it's a tight race between the Niners and the Rams.
And of course, Kupp goes from LA to Seattle. So,
right.
A little bit of a change there. I love that Devontae Adams pickup from the Rams because Adams at the back end of last year proved he can still play in New York. He would, trust me, there were 1,000 problems, and Devontae Adams was not one with that jet collapse a year ago. But Adams is a number 2 receiver behind Nakua. If Stafford can stay upright, that is a hell of a team in LA. And the odds tell you that because they're right at the top of the conference championship list. Also, they're 5-1 to win the NFC. Really, again, if Stafford stayed healthy, they have been a good playoff team every single year he has been healthy. 7-1 on the Niners. And then, again, interesting quirks with some of these numbers. Yes. 30-1 on Seattle to win the conference. 35-1 on Arizona to win the NFC. And then Seattle is shorter again than Arizona to win it all by $5. 75-1 on win it all in Seattle. 80-1 on the Cards. 12-1 on the Rams to win it all. And 15-1 on the Niners to raise the Lombardi. By the way, of course, Niners Stadium, Levi Stadium, is the host of Super Bowl 60.
Wow. We always say shop around, but this division, you have really got to shop around and find the best price, depending on which team you like to come out of this division.
And then Alex, win totals here. Again, a little bit odd that the Niners, not the betting favorite in the division, but with the highest win total here at the South Point.
That's right. 10.5 for San Francisco there. Pretty much flat, a little bit juiced to the under, minus 115. It is a flat 10 for the Rams. Arizona, 8.5 for them, juiced to the over, which does make sense there. Projected about 9 wins. And Seattle, 7.5. Big changes there for the Seahawks.
Really, the biggest story, there's a few, but it all goes back to the quarterbacks again. Purdy, of course, got paid this offseason. We know he's there long-term in San Francisco. This feels like the last go for Matthew Stafford and the Rams. I know they just redid the contract, but with his Stafford's injury history, the Rams get deep in the playoffs. This could be the end for Matthew Stafford. Can Kyler Murray take the step forward? And who's the real Sam Darnold? Is it what we saw for the bulk of last season in Minnesota, or is it what we saw at the end of the year where he completely melted down in the Week 18 game against the Lions and in the playoff game against the Rams? What version of Sammy D is Seattle getting? Also, I just want to bring up one other thing. The 49ers going into the year faced the lowest combined season win totals in the NFL. They also, if you're going off of last year's strength of schedule, they're the weakest schedule in the NFL coming in. I understand it is a totally new look team. They did not do much of anything this offseason other than lose pieces. Now, granted, I'm not sure how good Debo is at this point in his career, but it's a new look in San Francisco. But boy, there's a reason it's 10.5 on a win total. It is because their schedule is insanely easy on paper.
And of course, Shanahan has proved himself to be an elite coach in this league, and we've seen them win the West in the last 5 years. I don't know how many times.
All but twice.
All but twice. And then, of course, so that is another story here with the coaches, because then you have McVay, who is a fantastic coach as well. And then 2 young guys in Arizona and Seattle both trying to make their name with Jonathan Gannon. And then in Seattle, McDonald, second year there, coming from the Ravens. So it'll be interesting, kind of the young Bucks versus the old ones. We'll see who comes out in this one.
I still think the Rams are the rightful favorite to me in this division. Honestly, everyone in all 4 NFC divisions are the rightful favorites. Philadelphia, Detroit, I think the Lions will be down. They still should be the betting favorites. Tampa definitely should be the betting favorite in the South. And then the Rams should be the favorite here, even with that insanely easy schedule for San Francisco. The Rams are just on paper the best team in this division to me. And the division odds say that.
I think those two are very, very close, just like we're seeing here with those win totals and the division prices kind of just being right there and flip-flopping either way.
Ryan, you can take that real quick in the bottom left. I just did overview, so you have all the odds on one sheet here for you. In the NFC, Philadelphia is your betting favorite at plus 275. Then the Rams and the Lions next up at 5-1, and then a whole collection of Green Bay, San Fran, and Washington at 7-1, and then New Orleans bringing up the rear at 100-1. Again, I think that should be an extra 0 on the Saints with their quarterback situation. So right now, I will say there's nothing really to bet at the current moment. You're going more likely than not, other than, just throw this out there, other than the Niners, just because of what their schedule is, and maybe Chicago if they get off to a good start. Those are the 2 teams that I would say you might not get a better number this year than what are currently out there at the peak of the market. Other than that, I think you're going to see a better number on everybody at one point or another, whether it's even 50 cents better in these markets, Alex. That's usually how it works out. I
will just say, too, and tell me if you agree or you have a difference of opinion here, but if you're looking for a team such as Tampa Bay and myself, maybe you don't want to look for them to win the NFC Championship. There are some markets out there where they could just be the number 1 NFC
Yes.
team. If they can, stack up a lot of wins and get the 1 seed, it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do well in the playoffs, but could be a very good regular season team. So there are other ways to bet this where you don't have to just jump in to win it all in that conference just because you think the number's wrong.
They'd be a super vulnerable 1 seed. And there, yes,
Yeah.
DraftKings, FanDuel have those to be the number 1 seed, and BetMGM all have those numbers readily available. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we get back. The trivia question will be in the bottom, and then we move to the American Football Conference. The Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. Whew. Heavy at the top yet again in the AFC when we get back. Sports by the Book.
We have 11 amazing restaurants featuring a wide variety for every price range and appetite. South Point's Garden Buffet has something for everyone at unbeatable prices. Or if hunger strikes in the middle of the night, join us at Coronado Cafe. The American menu offers breakfast, lunch, or dinner 24 hours a day, plus a Chinese kitchen for authentic Chinese dishes from 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. From steak and eggs to wonton soup, it's fast and friendly service 24/7. When you need a quick pick-me-up, you can find it at our state-of-the-art Starbucks just inside the main South Point entrance. Order ahead with the Starbucks app for easy mobile order pickups. Or enjoy your favorites in the relaxing dining area anytime, day or night. If you love Mexican food, Baja Miguel's has all of your south of the border favorites. There are dozens of classics to choose from, like fajitas, ceviche, chimichangas, tacos, and more. And for spirit lovers, Baja's colorful non-smoking tequila bar is right outside.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. She's Alex White. I'm Jeff Parles. Happy to be with you here at the lovely South Point Hotel and Casino here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Alex, let's get to the AFC. Of course, it's been Kansas City's world ever since Patrick Mahomes has made it into the NFL. Of course, only two since his first year starting. 2 teams have been to the Super Bowl that have not been the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, that was New England and Cincinnati. The Bills will start in their division first in the AFC East. Boy, this feels like it needs to be the year for the Bills. Final year in the old stadium. New stadium gets built next. It'll be ready to go for next year. And the Bills in a division that is weak on the surface, a massive favorite, a minus 320 favorite to win the AFC East. That is the biggest number in the National Football League to win a division. Then Miami, who has a lower win total than the super sexy New England Patriots to a lot of people. Maybe not me, but a lot of people love New England going into the year. Plus 550 on Miami, 6-1 on New England, and then the New York Jets bringing up the rear like they had the last 15 years at 15-1 to win the AFC East, Alex.
If you are willing to lay that price, then shop around because I am seeing minus 275. BetMGM has the best number here in Hard Rock for the Buffalo Bills to win that division.
If Josh Allen stays upright, I almost think there's no path to any of these other 3 to winning the division. Now, making the playoffs, as you see in that other column, you can get some juicy plus prices. New England plus 165, Miami plus 180, Jets plus 475. You can get some juicy to make the playoff prices in the AFC East this year behind Buffalo. To win the AFC, again, the Bills, the betting favorite at plus 250. New England and Miami both at 30-1, and then the Jets at 75-1, and then to win it all. Bills co-favorites with Philly at 5-1 to win the Super Bowl, 75-1 in New England, 80-1 in Miami, and then a gigantic 200-1 on the New York Jets to lift the Lombardi Trophy, which will not happen more likely than not.
Looking over at their win totals, as I mentioned in the opening, so this division will play the NFC South. They will also play the AFC North with the Ravens, Steelers, Bengals, and Browns, so that won't be necessarily easy, but it is one of the easier schedules. We see Buffalo here at 11.5, minus 162 the over. New England 8.5. You mentioned it. They have a higher win total than Miami. Flat either way at that 8.5. Miami 8 wins for them. Juice to the under, minus 130. And then New York Jets at 6 here, or 5.5 at some places. So you can get a better number if you like the over.
This division's very simple at the top. It's just, can Buffalo finally beat Kansas City in a playoff game if they play each other? I'm willing to fast forward through the regular season. The Bills have a hilariously easy start to the season until they play Kansas City in their 9th game. Bills have a chance to rack up 13, 14 wins pretty easily with the way their schedule looks. Other than week 1 against Baltimore, they're going to be huge favorites every single week until they see the Kansas City Chiefs in week number 9. And then below them, look, is Drake May going to take a step forward in year 2? Is Mike Vrabel really going to change the culture back in year 1 in New England? Jets, totally new era. They, at least to their credit, got out in front of the curve.
Yep.
Extended Garrett Wilson on Monday, extended start Sauce Gardner yesterday. So the Jets at least getting out in front of this. I don't know what that means for this year. Again, roster still with a lot of question marks, but they're there. And then the Dolphins, I'll just say this because we'll get the Dolphin preview later in the month, Alex. The Miami Dolphins are the team that will flame out this year in the National Football League. I don't trust Tua to stay healthy. Tyreek Hill is a powder keg at the current moment. Doesn't even feel like he wants to be there. The markets that will become available if first coach to be fired, Mike McDaniel makes a heck of a lot of sense to me with Miami, especially if they get off to a rough start, which is their schedule's not overly difficult. But look, if you get off 1-6 in a relatively average schedule, it's probably lights out there for McDaniel.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, especially with the roster that they do have. And if Tua is healthy there. The Jets, one thing I sure like about Aaron Glenn, I do like that he was drafted by this organization, and you haven't really heard a thing during this offseason. So I do believe that they are changing the culture there. Buffalo, I don't have quite as high, but I was also lower on them last year going into it, and they over exceeded expectations for me there. But I mean, with that schedule that they have, if there is a cheap price and it's a better number for them to be the 1 seed in the AFC, I think that is a great bet. I do think that they will be able to find ways to win through, and they are just better matched up against each of these teams in their schedule. As you mentioned, they do have the Ravens and a couple tough ones, though, on there.
Yeah, look, I fully expect Buffalo to be the 1 seed. I expect this to go through Western New York this year just because the difference in schedules between Buffalo, Baltimore, and Kansas City, who are the logical 1, 2, 3 in any order in the AFC. Speaking of Baltimore, let's go to the AFC North. And you have the Ravens as the betting favorites, and I'm a little bit surprised at how steep this price is at minus 150 to win the AFC North. Yet again, they're 1-5, minus 500 to make the playoffs as well. Cincinnati, again, very quietly to a lot of people, no playoffs back-to-back years here for the Bengals. They're plus 220 to win the division, minus 130 to get back to the postseason with Joe Burrow and company. Pittsburgh, of course, Aaron Rodgers now in town, 5-1 to win the North for the Steelers, plus 160 to make the playoffs. And then Cleveland, with the most perplexing quarterback room that I can ever remember going into a year, 30-1 to win the division, plus 750 to make the postseason, Alex.
Very interesting in this division. Of course, all these head coaches, we're used to talking about all 4 of them, so nothing new there. You're right, though. It is a little bit of a bigger jump here from Baltimore. It has been a compact, tight division over the last few years, and I think this is also the Ravens' year that they really need to make a step and make a push and get into the Super Bowl. Feels like that window's closed, and they add Derrick Henry. I mean, they seem like they're going all in this year.
3-1 on Baltimore to win the AFC, 8-1 on Cincy, 15-1 on Pittsburgh, 60-1 on Cleveland. And then Baltimore, one of the betting favorites, one of 4 teams with numbers less than 10-1 to win it all. 7-1 on Baltimore, 20-1 on Cincinnati. That's as good of a price going into the year that we have seen from the Bengals since, of course, when they shockingly made the Super Bowl in Burrow's second year in 2021. And then 50-1 on Pittsburgh to win it all, and then 200, add a 0 to Cleveland. And then you got the correct odds on the Browns for what they realistically are. I'll just say in this, before we get to the win totals, Alex, shop around on the Bengal Super Bowl price if you are buying into Cincinnati, because they have had as bad of an offseason as you can possibly ask for. Their first-round pick, Shamar Stewart, is not even with the team right now. Trey Hendrickson, they had a whole brouhaha over his contract. The vibes aren't great, but Joe Burrow just coming off his best year of his career, And you have to imagine that Cincinnati will have positive regression on defense, even with the off-the-field issues they've had. They are a very interesting pick, even though, again, no playoffs the last 2 years and questions about Burrow's health over the last 2 seasons as well.
Yeah, especially when it has to do with your throwing hand there. So that does make me a little bit nervous. But defense, I mentioned no new head coaches are going with a different defensive coordinator there for the Bengals. So it should be very interesting. Let's take a look at their win totals, though, starting with the Ravens sitting there at 11.5. No real surprises there. Cincinnati is a 9.5, minus 125 to the over. Pittsburgh is 8.5, like you said. Now we have Aaron Rodgers there. Flat either way. You like that one. And Cleveland sitting there at 5.5. Check out our individual team breakdowns. We did talk about Cleveland already, 5.5. Very low, but it is a very tough schedule that they will be playing this year.
Browns have, to me, the toughest schedule in the National Football League, and they could be very long without a win this year, especially if they don't upset Cincinnati week 1 in Cleveland. Hey, look, it's very simple in this division. For Baltimore, can you finally get over the hump in the postseason? We have seen Jackson come up short in the postseason, losing as a number 1 seed at home to a 6 seed in Tennessee. Last year, they got I know everyone points to Andrews dropping the 2-point conversion, but they were in a big hole because of turnovers in that game against Buffalo a year ago. Cincinnati, can they get back on the horse after being out of the postseason the last 2 years? And then for Pittsburgh, what are you getting out of Aaron Rodgers? What are you getting? Are you getting anything close to Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay? Or are you getting the Aaron Rodgers who basically threw a hand grenade into the Jets organization even further than it was already in there? What are you getting? You would imagine it will be a lot more stable in Pittsburgh under Tomlin, but again, how much is left in the tank for Rodgers? That really is what it comes down to with this division. And then Cleveland is completely irrelevant in the grand scheme of things.
Pittsburgh is very interesting, right? Go with Aaron Rodgers, Mike Tomlin trying to get over that hump of losing in the first round of the playoffs, and they ship out their young wide receiver in George Pickens. They bring in DK Metcalf, so we'll see. A lot of veterans. It is definitely an older team. I don't know if they can make it over that hump, but we know that is the ultimate goal, is to win a playoff game here for Pittsburgh.
I think for Pittsburgh, it might even be bigger than that. Get deep, get to the AFC title game.
Yeah,
I mean, Rodgers has hinted that this will be it, one way or another. So you might have to strike while the iron's hot.
Yeah.
Again, with all the questions. Again, Will Howard, probably a good backup quarterback long term. Don't see him as an NFL starter though. So see how it plays out in Pittsburgh. To the AFC South, arguably the weakest division in the NFL. Also, again, it's still the South, so it's still the bottom 2 divisions anyway you slice it. The Texans, betting favorites to win the division for the 3rd consecutive year. A really bizarre year for the Texans, all things considered, where they weren't really tested in the division race, but no one ever really bought them as a real threat. Then they smacked the Chargers in the opening round of the playoffs before losing to Kansas City in the second round of the playoffs. They're even to win the division. They're minus 150 to make the playoffs. Jacksonville, with the same win total as Indianapolis, is plus 275 to win the division. Indy's 3-1. They're both plus prices, plus 70 on Jacksonville, plus 75 on the Colts. And then Cam Ward and the Titans, of course, the first overall pick, replaces Will Levis. 10-1 on Tennessee to win the division, 4-1 to make the postseason down there in Nashville.
I'm seeing plus 110 at a few shops for the Texans to win this division, DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetMGM. I think that's a pretty good price. Of those 3, Jeff, is there one that you could make a case for? I know it's early. Is there one you're leaning towards more that could actually jump the Texans?
No. Personally,
tough, right?
no. It's interesting because like Stroud had the slump, but you still saw, hey, this guy is still an elite caliber quarterback when he's right, when his offensive line isn't tripping over their own feet. Oh, and by the way, he didn't have the bulk of his receivers for a good collection of the year because of injury. Of course, Nico Collins missed a good chunk of the year a year ago, who's arguably a top 10 receiver in this league. Indy could have Daniel Jones as their starting quarterback for the bulk of this year. That's not good. I'm not buying Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence down in Jacksonville. Tennessee's too far away at this point. It's still Houston's division. I like that plus 110s that are available on the Texans. Houston's 12-1 to win the conference. Am I reading that right on Indy? Is that 70 to win it, or is that a typo there, Ryan? Wow. Okay. Well, that's a big jump up on the Colts to 70 to 1, Jacksonville at 30, and then 75 on Tennessee. That's super, super interesting. The Jacksonville's so much less with the same win total as Indianapolis. That'll be a question for Chris on Friday.
I think that's money on the Jags.
It has to be. That's the only explanation for that. 30 to 1 for Houston to win it all, 70 to 1 on Jacksonville, and then $1.50 on both Indy and Tennessee to win the whole thing, Alex.
Some love Trevor Lawrence. Of course, we do know that he can be an elite quarterback. Just has been a rough couple of years there. I'm a little concerned with the concussions that he's gone through too as well. But looking ahead, let's look at their win totals here with Houston, 9.5 for the Texans. I think that is a perfect number for this Houston team. I could see 9 or 10 wins right there. The Colts, 7.5, juice to the over. If you like the under, you're getting even money there. Jacksonville, 7.5. minus 120 to the over as well. And Tennessee, 5.5, juice to the over, minus 140.
Yeah, it would only be a look to Indianapolis's under. Again, the quarterback play concerns the heck out of me. And that, even though their defense should be better this year as well, but boy.
We haven't got to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor as of late. If he can stay healthy. I
don't know. I don't really like any of these teams. Someone has to be in the postseason and hosting a playoff game. That's all I know. And then more likely than not will be the Houston Texans. All right, now we go to arguably the most competitive division in the NFL. May not be at the top, but I think all 4 of these teams are playoff caliber this year. Yes, including the Raiders in the AFC West. And boy, look at the win totals here. Kansas City, well, we'll get to those in a little bit. But Kansas City's only minus 110 to win the AFC West. Denver's at 3 to 1. Chargers at plus 325, and then the Raiders are at 12 to 1. All I'm going to say, Alex, you're giving me the Kansas City Chiefs as a flip to win the division. You are obligated to bet that. You are obligated to bet that. I know Kansas City had their worst offseason in the Mahomes era. On paper, this looks like the worst team they've had by margin going in. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're still really good. They still have the best coach in the NFL, and they still have the best quarterback in the NFL. And there are questions. I know when we get to the Broncos, we're going to talk about how good their defense is. When we get to the Chargers, we love Jim Harbaugh. The Raiders are vastly improved, but they're not on that level. That is my favorite bet, period, across the board, is Kansas City at basically a flip to win this division. Look, you make the argument for Denver. I think that's the only other one you can make the argument for in this division, but I still don't think they're quite good enough to hop Kansas City.
That is the one I would make the argument for, is the Broncos. I'm seeing plus 360 to win the division is the best price you can get. I'm one of the crazy ones, though, who is willing to bet against the Chiefs. I just feel like they won too many one-score games last year. I think this division is so compact. I have a 6-point difference from the top to the bottom, so it is going to be very, very competitive. And I mean, they have a very tough schedule going in, so it's not going to be easy for any of these 4, especially facing each other twice. But I can't fault anybody. Minus 110 with the Chiefs, and we know that they do find ways. Why not make it in the playoffs in a wild card spot? They don't necessarily have to win the division.
All these teams are, the 3 lower teams are capable of making the postseason. By the way, it's minus 130 on the Chargers to make the playoffs, minus 05 on Denver, which I think is an excellent price. Even though
That's probably the better bet.
To make the playoffs over the division, 100%.
Yes.
There are some questions scheduling wise for Denver. Their schedule really gets tough on the back end, so they got to get fat and happy early to make sure that they're in. And then the Raiders, Ken, I don't know how many wins the Raiders will have, but I know they're going to be a hell of a lot more competitive, and they're going to be a lot better coached than they were the last 2 years. So Raiders at 3 to 1 to win the division, to make the playoffs, 12 to 1 to win the division. Denver's 3 to 1 to win the division, plus 325. Chargers minus 10 on the Chiefs. Kansas City, one of the favorites to win the conference, plus 350. 8 to 1 on LA, 10 to 1 on Denver, 20 to 1 on the Raiders. And then the Chiefs, this is the highest odds the Chiefs have had in 2 years preseason to win it all, plus 750. Right now, here they're the third favorite with Baltimore, 20 to 1 on the Chargers, 25 to 1 on Denver, and then 50 to 1 on the Raiders to win the whole shebang this year.
Taking a look at their win totals here with the Chiefs at 11.5, juice to the under -145. Chargers are 9.5, pretty much flat. Denver is 9.5, also -125 to the under, and then Las Vegas sitting there at 7, juice to the over -135. If you do think that Vegas can make a step forward, that might be your best bet for the Raiders. They're getting over 7 wins.
Just again, we kind of just mentioned it across the board at the beginning throughout this. This division on paper looks extraordinarily tough. Every team except for Kansas. Look, Denver's improved. Raiders are vastly improved. Chargers are pretty similar to me what they were going into last year.
Agreed.
And then the Chiefs are down, but it's still Kansas City's world until they're knocked off the perch. Especially, forget the division, for the whole conference as well. It's going to come down to quarterback play, though, for those other 3 teams. Justin Herbert would just shake off that horrible performance against Houston in the postseason, and that was just a one-off fluke. Does Bo Nix take another step forward in Denver? Looked like one of the worst quarterbacks in the league the first 6 weeks of the year last year. By the end of the year, he was a slightly above average NFL starter by the end of last year. And then the Raiders, again, massive improvement at coach, offensive coordinator, and quarterback going into the year with Carroll, Kelly, and Geno across the board with the Raiders, Alex.
May have the best rookie running back going into the year. Of course, draft Ashton Genty, and then Brock Bowers have one of the best tight ends. So it'll be very interesting. Going back to the Chargers, though, you made such a good point there because they're kind of another sexy pick going into this year. And my concern is just that people missed the boat last year. And they did make such a big jump, snuck into the playoffs, as you mentioned. Got crushed in that first playoff game with Harbaugh back in the NFL, but I don't know if they can make a step above that. I have them right there once again.
Yeah, I'll just say this with the Chargers. A lot of people underrated how big of an impact Harbaugh was going to have right away. We know Jim Harbaugh slides right in and is automatically a top 5 coach in this league. Again, it really comes back to the mental aspect for Justin Herbert.
Right.
Because the last time we saw him, that was the worst game of his career, period, in that playoff game against Houston. He did things you never saw him do before in the worst way possible on an NFL field. Just curious if that balloons into something more. Here are your odds to win the conference. Buffalo's your betting favorite, +250. Baltimore 3-1, then Kansas City a +350, and then 8-1 on the Bengals and the Chargers. Chargers are too short. I'll throw that out there. Again, I would be surprised if it's not one of those first 4 teams, Alex. I just don't think Denver's offense is good enough to win 3 playoff games, and everyone else below Cincinnati, just not good enough at this point to win the AFC.
Unless Aaron Rodgers and team, look really, really good, and that Achilles injury is no longer nagging him, or CJ Stroud. Maybe last year was kind of just a little bit of a downhill for a sophomore slump, and now the Texans come back because. That first year they were awesome. So if they could make a run here. But other than that, yes, those top 4 definitely. And actually, I would almost even say top 3.
Yeah, Cincinnati, again, is on the cusp. But again, I really do think this year's going through Western New York. I do too. Really do think that if Buffalo is going to finally bust through, Kansas City's the weakest they've been. Buffalo's schedule is primed to get the number 1 seed with their schedule. We'll see how it all plays out across the board. All right, we'll take one last break. When we get back, no whiteboard today. Correct. All right, we'll go through the awards markets across the board, and we'll also tell you the trivia answer when we get back. Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
Once you've satisfied your hunger, get ready for more of the hottest casino games in Vegas. Our 24-hour, 30-table non-smoking poker room proudly hosts all the most popular poker games with a variety of betting limits. Visit the poker room for a schedule of daily tournaments. Whether you're going to hold 'em or fold 'em, the best place for poker is at South Point Casino. you'll notice that our craps tables are usually the loudest in the casino. If you've never played, join one of our free craps lessons to find out what makes this game so exciting. Check with the craps dealer for schedules and give it a roll. Bingo is also an exciting way to spend your time. We offer 7 sessions of bingo every day. Bingo! And each session includes a cash ball jackpot, 12 bingo games, a progressive double action game, and a $10,000 bonus coverall. Electronic units are available. If you haven't played bingo with us, give it a try today. Guests can also get in on the action at our one-of-a-kind race and sports books. 2 separate rooms designed to maximize your experience and comfort. Our sports book, with over 400 seats, puts you right in the middle of the action, 24 hours a day. The friendly ticket writers are happy to help, and it's conveniently located next to the famous Del Mar Deli, where you'll find supersized portions of delicious deli items like roast beef, pastrami, and Reuben sandwiches, or soups, salads, and pizza, plus spectacular desserts fit for a king. And right next door is the race book, over 150 seats, each with its own TV screen. There are 16 interactive player terminals, so you can bet right from your seat.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the book.
Sports by the Book, South Point Studio.
We don't make stuff up here.
I would only play the Pirates team total going under.
What the hell happened to Minnesota's pitching?
This total has really crashed without plumbing the lineup.
I think this number's too high, but they're laying me the 6.
Oh, I know.
Caitlin Clark drives handle on the WNBA.
Never mind all these Mickey Mouse other stations. We are giving you hands-on information.
Welcome back in Sports by the Book, South Point Studio. Jeff Parles, Alex White. All right, awards times in a second, but first, trivia question, which is tennis related today, on topic. On this date in 2017, Roger Federer established a new men's singles tennis record at Wimbledon with an 8th victory of the tournament. Federer won the tournament without losing a set. Which player in the Open era was the only other champion at Wimbledon without losing a set? That was Bjorn Borg in 1976. He did it done. The only other one to do it was Federer at the Australian Open in 07. So there's Borg. Nick, 6 in a row with the win today, getting Bjorn Borg on the left part of your screen. All right?
Is JR in there?
I think JR's on vacation.
He might be.
I think JR's on vacation.
Not to take anything away from Nick.
Yeah. No, it's JR just okay with taking his lumps here today. All right, let's go to the NFL. Let's go back to it. We go to the awards markets, and let's begin in the MVP. All these odds are via DraftKings. If you see a star, that means it's a better price at FanDuel. So if there's a star, it's at FanDuel. If not, it's at DraftKings. On all these, Lamar Jackson's your betting favorite. Of course, controversy last year. A lot of people thought Jackson should have won the award. Josh Allen won his first MVP. Plus 550 on Lamar, 6-1 on Allen. Plus 650 on Burrow, 7-1 on Mahomes, and then rounding out your top 5. And the only other guy who's shorter than 20-1 is Jaden Daniels at plus 750.
Wow, pretty crazy that the Super Bowl MVP there, Jalen Hurts, right after Jaden Daniels, 20-1. Of course, we know throughout the regular season really relied on Saquon Barkley and was a huge part of that offense, but that's a pretty big number there. Taking a look down the list, if anybody else jumps out, I mean, people really like Kyler Murray this year, taking another leap forward. Is there anyone that jumps out to you? He's sitting there at 50-1.
Yeah, going down the board, I tried making the argument for Stafford a few weeks ago. He seems like the one that makes the most sense now. His numbers are all over the place right now. I would just say that he would be the one that I would look at. It's funny that Bo Nix is as high as 75-1 now. I don't think Bo Nix has a shot in hell of winning the MVP, but that is interesting to see. But Stafford's the down the board one, and I'm going to be pained by saying this, but I will say if the Pittsburgh Steelers win the AFC North, Aaron Rodgers is live to win this award and probably will be in the top 2 of voting if the Pittsburgh Steelers win the AFC North, because that's the way they win the AFC North. Their defense regresses to the positive. Again, they still have to figure out the TJ Watt nonsense that's going on this offseason. And Rodgers plays at a high-end level. Those are the only, like 75-1 is a I actually think is a reasonable option on Rodgers. Again, if you're making me bet MVP today, I'm betting Burrow. That would be the guy I'm betting. And I think he wins the award, busts through, and Cincinnati makes the playoffs finally again. And it kind of naturally, like, we've had Mahomes, we've had Allen, we've had Jackson. Burrow's the only one of those big four in the AFC who hasn't won the MVP yet.
I will say two others that kind of just jumped out to me now because I do like both teams to win their division. Baker Mayfield sitting there at 34-1. Mm-hmm. We have seen him put up some flashy numbers here in Tampa. And then Jared Goff. I mean, is there a chance for him to win MVP with people thinking the Lions might regress a little bit, losing their coordinator, no more Ben Johnson? If he can still put up those type of numbers that he has been in the last couple of years, both of those better than 30-1. Yeah, I do like those. I don't hate the Joe Burrow, especially if their defense doesn't take a huge step and he has to do the things he did last year and they can find a way to get into the playoffs. I do think that's pretty good.
Yeah, it just feels like the natural line of succession, right? Just, again, it's Jackson, Lamar, or Lamar and Jackson are the same guy. Allen, Jackson, and Mahomes already obviously have dominated the MVP over the last few years. All right, offensive player. Now, it's a little bit different, obviously. Barkley, of course, won the award with his historic season a year ago, is the favorite yet again. I don't see Saquon winning it again because I don't think Philly is going to run him as much as they did a year ago. Save the energy, see if they can go back-to-back. I think this actually goes down the board here, Alex. You got plus 950 on Chase, 13-1 on Gibbs, too short. Derrick Henry at 16-1, Bijan Robinson at 18-1, too short. Nico Collins at 70-1 with Justin Jefferson. I'm going to follow my guy Adam Rosenberg, who brought this up to me a few weeks ago. I think Puka Nacua at 20-1 is live here. Now, the big question mark with that is you need a full healthy season from Stafford, and you need Devontae Adams not to take too much of the apple, which could happen. But Nacua, I think at 20-1 is solid. And then if we're going way down the board, I think if Green Bay continues their success, Josh Jacobs has to have another huge year.
Ooh.
Might be hard for him to actually win the award, but there are worse bets than 60-1 on Josh Jacobs to win Offensive Player of the Year.
No, I agree. I do like both of those, especially because Devontae Adams in his later years have been more of a decoy, and they could do that just like they were with Cooper Kupp there for Puka Nacua. It's Derrick Henry's year. Why not? We just saw Saquon win it. Derrick Henry's going for 2,000 this year. So maybe that's a good bet there, 15-1.
Defensive Player of the Year up next, as again, this is a top-heavy market with pass rushers. Hutchinson, Parsons, Garrett, and Watt are your top four. 7-1 on Hutchinson, who again is coming off a significant leg injury. Parsons at plus 750, Garrett at 850, TJ Watt's at 10-1, and then Will Anderson, Jared Verse, and Max Crosby are all in that 15-1, 16-1 pocket right now, Alex.
TJ Watt has just been so close to winning that award. I mean, they got to get it figured out there in Pittsburgh, but that makes a whole lot of sense to me. This is a really tough market for me. I mean, those top guys are all just so good, and I don't even know how they distinguish and pick at the end there. But yeah, I mean, from Max Crosby up, you can make a case.
Remember a year ago, it was Patrick Surtain Jr., the corner, who won the award. He's at 40-1. I just think it's impossible for a secondary guy to win it for a second straight year. It was just, again, Hutchinson was on his way to winning it before he broke his leg, and Garrett had a down year. Watt battled injuries. Parsons was 100%. But it was a perfect storm for Surtain to win the award. I'll tell you, I kind of like Max Crosby at 16-1. Again, the Raiders are going to be, the record may not be pretty. It likely will be under 500, but they are going to be an extraordinarily difficult out this year in the AFC West, and Crosby is going to have a huge season. So I actually like Crosby. That's my favorite bet on the board here. See if we get a little higher number as we approach the season, but 16-1 I think is fair and a good price on Max Crosby to be the Defensive Player of the Year, Alex.
I like it. I mean, he is the leader of that defense, and now with that culture change there with Pete Carroll, he'll be ready to go. He doesn't take any downs off as it is, but I really do like that one.
Offensive Rookie of the Year, it's based off the odds. It's really a two-horse race between Ashton Jeanty and Cam Ward going into the year. Jeanty, of course, the pick by the Raiders, plus 270 is the best number available on him on FanDuel. Plus 350 on Cam Ward is the best number on the number one overall pick. Travis Hunter is going to try to play both sides at 10-1, and then Shuck and Omarion Hampton of the Chargers, who's likely going to be their number one running back at 12-1 is the best number available.
And that's the first one that jumped out to me. We know the Chargers like to run the football. They established the run first. We saw Harbaugh do it last year. And they have Najee Harris, who had a little injury, and I don't know if he is a number one guy. So I think Hampton could have a breakout year right away.
I still think this award, no pun intended there, because he's going to. This award normally is so favored to the quarterback that plays all 17 games. And Ward's going to be him and Shuck are going to be the two guys that have the potential to play all 17. And I just think Shuck is going to be terrible personally. So Ward is the one that I would look at. If we're going down the board, the two tight ends are interesting with Tyler Warren and Colston Loveland in Chicago and in Indianapolis. Loveland is going to be a big piece of that offense in Chicago. And Warren as well, especially if Jones ends up being the starting quarterback in Indianapolis. Don't sleep on those guys. I know Bowers didn't win last year, but what are you going to do? Jaden Daniels had an all-time quarterback rookie season.
Right.
There's nothing you can do there. Bowers would have won if Daniels had a regular, solid quarterback rookie year. It's just that it was as good of one as we've seen in the last 20 years. That's why Bowers didn't win. Could be Loveland or Warren down the board. That would be a shot. Small, I'd be willing to look at, Alex.
Don't hate those at all. Especially, we are just seeing this tight end position really, in the last few years or so. And Brock Bowers really, he set a high standard, though. So they are going to have some pretty good seasons.
Up next, Alex, the defensive rookie of the year, which is Abdul Carter, is the only one who's short of 10-1. He's plus 250. Jalen Walker at 10-1. Travis Hunter at 12-1. Mike Green and Jahad Campbell at 14-1, along with Mikael Williams as well. And then Mason Graham sitting there at 19-1. I think this is Carter's award in a landslide, more likely than not, if he stays healthy. He was the best player in college football a year ago. I expect him to be the best player on that Giant defense, which actually is pretty good on paper with Dexter Lawrence and Brian Burns already there. And I think Carter's going to be the best guy by the end of this year. So Carter at plus 250 might end up looking like a steal when this is all said and done.
Ooh. If you've been following us with any awards, that does happen.
Short.
We've had it with our Cy Young and our MVP. Starting it out, it looks like you're laying a big price, but by the end of it, it does look like a steal. So I'm with you. I'd have to go with Carter.
Up next, Alex, Coach of the Year, which to me is the most complicated market by margin this year. Ben Johnson and Mike Vrabel are your co-favorites, depending on the book. Johnson 7-1, Vrabel is plus 750 is the best number available. Liam Cohen of Jacksonville at 14-1, Aaron Glenn, Pete Carroll, and Dave Canales, all in that 15-1, 16-1 pocket. And then these numbers are all over the map, depending on what book you're looking at. I'll just be very simplistic here. If the Chicago Bears make the playoffs, Ben Johnson's winning the award. I think and especially if Caleb Williams takes a leap forward, which I expect him to. Again, this might be one of those. Don't love betting a favorite, especially in this market, but it might just be in plain sight. Ben Johnson is as good as we thought he was in Detroit as a head coach. That Bear team is going to win 10, 11, maybe even 12 games with all that talent there.
Oh, I would just be careful. Like you mentioned, this is a very tough market to jump in with the favorite. There's always somebody down the board, right? Yep. And a sneaky team. And so it's just really tough to even bet these. But we were talking about a couple other cases the other day, a little bit farther down the board, but it's just hard because I brought up Dan Campbell maybe, but I can't even see them giving it to Dan Campbell. The lines have been so good. I'll just say this, the Raheem Morris at 30-1 now, I actually think Raheem Morris is more likely to get fired in the middle of this year than he is to be in the Coach of the Year race. But if Atlanta finally takes that step forward, he could be the weird one down the board. Same deal with Brian Schottenheimer too. The hire made no sense on the surface, but what happens if Dallas wins 11 games? Brian Schottenheimer is going to get credit. Dak Prescott's going to be in the MVP race if that ends up happening. So, again, You're right. Weird stuff happens in this market over the years, Alex. What about Brian Callahan? Then we did. Yeah, I don't think Tennessee's going to be good enough, at least with Atlanta and Dallas. I see a path to making the playoffs for those teams. I don't see it with Tennessee. All right, Protector of the Year, the first year of this new award, the best offensive lineman in the National Football League. And I'm going to tell you, Alex, I have no interest in betting this because I have no idea what the voters are going to do. I just will say I think it's odd that a right tackle, as great as Penei Sewell is,
It's and same. Again, you see this down the board with other guys on this, with Johnson and Malai as well. Right tackle. For me, it's hard for the right tackle to win this award at plus 450 on Sewell. I don't know what to do here, Alex. Lane Johnson's plus 750. Trent Williams at 10-1. Mulata at 12-1. Quentin Nelson and interior linemen's 21.
Wow.
Look, the books don't really know how to price this as well. I don't know. This is kind of one of those where you just kind of take a bomber down the board that may not even be on our screen right now and say, you know what? I think he's the best lineman on the certain team. I think this team's going to be good. Why not? Take a shot. I think that's the way to go here, because first time with this award, we don't know what the voters are going to do.
Yeah, no, I think that is probably the best approach, to take a shot here. But you want to pick a team that you do think is going to be good.
Correct.
And, of course, a team that'll protect their quarterback. So, yeah, we're going to have to look into this more and have a pick.
We'll have the next 6 weeks. We'll figure it out. But this is the toughest award market by margin for me. And then comeback player of the year is the last one up. And, I'm a little surprised Aiden Hutchinson's not the betting favorite.
I was just thinking that.
So Dak's 3-1, Hutchinson's plus 320, McCaffrey's plus 370, Lawrence is plus 475. All right, look, J.K. McCarthy's plus 650. What? He hasn't played in the NFL yet. You can't come back from not playing. I'm sorry, I get it. He got hurt in preseason, tore his meniscus, missed all season. He didn't play. He didn't play a real game. That's horrible. Horrible. Don't bet J.J. McCarthy in this market. And then Rashee Rice and Brandon Ayuk, interesting as well. So, after last year, it really came of coming back from being hurt more so than anything. I don't know what to do, Alex. Hutchinson seems like such an obvious choice, where he's the favorite to be the defensive player of the year. The only question would be, we see this oddity with NFL voters of the refusal to give two awards to the same guy. And also, too, the only other factor is, remember Dak, after he had the dislocated ankle, was the big favorite to be comeback player of the year all year in 2021. And then Joe Burrow beat him at the end of the year because of the magical run that the Bengals went on. I just wonder if that's something that also is in the voters' minds of, hey, we screwed Dak out of this award once. If he has a good year this year, maybe they give it to Dak. But Hutchinson feels like he should be the obvious favorite here.
What's Hutchinson's number for defensive player? Do you remember?
7-1, plus 750, right, Ryan? Given in that pocket? Yeah. So it's about half the odds here in this.
Is it not worth it just to take a little piece of both of those?
I would do that.
And just ignore the rest of the awards markets? Hold on to, he's got to win one of them. He doesn't have to. But, he's primed to have a very good year and a good chance to win one of those.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Again, Hutchinson should be the favorite. I'm a little floored by that, Alex. All right. So this is our overview today. Our NFL team previews are coming live on the Sports by the Book channel starting next week. We're recording a few today as well, so we're in the mode. So we're going to get a few out of the way today as well. New York. Let's just go with that. But we're back tomorrow. You and I are going to have our preview of the second half of the Major League Baseball season. We'll get you all the updated odds. We'll give you our thoughts, the teams to look out for, the teams to fade in the second half that aren't the Colorado Rockies and the Chicago White Sox. And we'll look at the awards markets as well on the show tomorrow, Alex. So
maybe you, me, and Ryan will each give our who we think is going to
playoff teams.
Our playoff teams, divisions, and wild card.
I already know who my 6 playoff teams are. I'm more than game to that. It's just a matter of figuring out that last team in the NL between those two West teams. But we'll see how it all plays out on the show tomorrow. Alex, good job. Everyone out there, thank you for listening. This has been Sports by the Book. We're right back here tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Make sure you're hitting subscribe. And, of course, if you see us around the South Points, come say hello, as always. Live, as always, from the South Point here, just south of the Las Vegas Strip here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll see you tomorrow, Sports by the Book.